quick. All right, awesome. Well, again, thank you all for joining us. I'm going to stop talking here now and introduce our speaker for this event, Dr. Nana Tian. As you can see here, she's going to be discussing the Arkansas forestry industry with us, something that I know a lot of people have asked for. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Tian.
Hello, everyone. This is Nana, and I think I met most of you at the WOW conference in October. So I'm very glad to be here today and also very excited to see you all again. So today I will just present the topic for Arkansas forest industry 2021, and hopefully this is the topic that you are all interested in and also find some useful information from this topic. So I will start the presentation now. Basically, for today's presentation, I will just follow this roadmap. So firstly, I will briefly, introduce the forest markets. So in this section, I mainly just introduce, the price trends for different forest products for the past 20 years, and also try to discuss a little bit the significant factors that affecting the price trends, as well as the disconnection between the lumber price versus the stumpage price. And then in the second session, I will just have a very brief discussion for the trends for the future. And in that session, we basically just briefly discuss what will happen in the near future or even next year. So based on the most recent data we got. So that's basically the two different topics I will cover today. And firstly, let's go to forest markets. And again, in this section, we basically just showed the price trends for the past 20 years from 2001 until 2021. So the 20 years, what's the price trends look like for different forest products. And the different forest products, basically it means, the pine saw timber, the oak saw timber, the hardwood saw timber, as well as the pine pulpwood and, and the hardwood pulpwood, that's the forest products. So firstly, let's say the pine saw timber price trends for the past 20 years here. So in this finger, you probably see, there are two different curves. And obviously, the blue curve represents the price for the pine saw timber in Arkansas. And then the orange curve just represents the average price for pine saw timber in the southeast states. So, and for the pine saw timber price, we can say that there is, a substantial decrease for this price around the year 2008 to 2009. And we all know what happened during that time period, right? That's because of the great economic recession. So it caused a big decrease for the pine saw timber price. And then if we compare the price in Arkansas versus the price in the southeast states, from those two different curves, we can say they just basically follow each other very closely. It means there is no big difference between the average price for the pine saw timber in Arkansas versus the southeast states. And then if we just focus on, the price data for this year, 2021, you probably say, 2021, there are three different points for the pine saw timber price, right? Then the 3 points represent the average price for the first 3 quarters of this year. So that's the most recent data we can get. And for the fourth quarter data, we probably will get it, until next year, January sometime. So we collected those data just from Timber Mart South. And if we just focus on, the data for this year, we can say that in the second half of this year, the pine saw timber price, there was a slight increase. Previous years, generally, it was $23, $24 per ton. But this year, especially the second half of this year, then the price increased to, $25 to $28 or $29 per ton. So that's, a slight increase for the pine saw timber price this year. So this is the pine saw timber price trends. And here I also showed the price trends for the oak saw timber. And for this finger, if we compare it to the previous finger, you can see that for the oak saw timber, obviously there is a substantial, kind of higher price for oak saw timber compared to the pine saw timber. If we focus on again the 3 points for this year, we can see that for the oak saw timber price, it was basically between $50 per ton to $55 per ton. It's much higher than the pine saw timber price. And also, we can say that the average price for the oak saw timber historically it is higher than the average price in the southeast states. So, by the way, could you all just please unmute yourself if you do not have any questions, because I hear some kind of noise. So, but it's okay. So let's just say, historically, we can say that the oak saw timber price in Arkansas is higher than the average price in the southeast states. And then, again, for the 3 points of this year, the oak saw timber price is between $50 per ton to $55 per ton. And if we see those trends overall, it has an increasing trend, right? So basically overall, this finger is just, increasing. So that's the oak saw timber price. And speaking of the hardwood saw timber, it's followed a very, very similar trend with the oak saw timber price. And again, if we just say the 3 points for this year, we can see that basically for the hardwood saw timber, it's between $35 to $40 per ton. And also, the same thing for hardwood saw timber, the average price in Arkansas is generally higher than the average price in the southeast states. So that's the price trends for the hardwood saw timber. And if we see the pulpwood price, so firstly, we just showed the price trends for the pine pulpwood. And if we just focus on the past 5 years, we can say that, in the past 5 years, the average price in Arkansas actually is lower than the average price in the southeast states. So basically, the major reason for the pine pulpwood price is lower. The major reason behind this phenomenon is because of the oversupply or strong supply of pine pulpwood. And that's the pine pulpwood price. And then for the hardwood pulpwood, basically the same thing. And we can see that before the pandemic year, basically before 2020, generally, the average price in Arkansas is higher than the southeast states average price for hardwood pulpwood. But because of the pandemic, actually, the price in Arkansas becomes lower than the average price in the southeast states. Obviously, there are 2 different reasons. One reason is the pandemic, and the second reason, again, because of the oversupply or strong supply of hardwood pulpwood in Arkansas. So that's kind of the 2 major reasons causing the hardwood pulpwood price kind of lower in the past few years. And again, if we focus on the points of the data for this year, for the hardwood pulpwood, it's generally around $7 per ton. And if we just go back to the pine pulpwood again for this year, it's just around $5 per ton. That's the pine pulpwood average price. So until now, I just showed the price trends for different forest products for the past 20 years, and hopefully use those kind of fingers just to show you how the price changes in the past 20 years for the different forest products. And in addition to the price trends for the forest products for stumpage, here, I also included the price trends for the lumber price. So the lumber here mainly refers to the composite lumber. So, this is the annual average price for lumber for the past 20 years. And if we just focus on the pandemic years, it means from 2020 until this year, those 2 years, focus on this finger, you can see that, in the first half or in the first quarter of 2020, there was a substantial decrease for the lumber price. And then from the second quarter of 2020, basically the lumber price just improved or continued to increase, including this year. This year, in the first half of this year, we know that the lumber price just basically reached a historical high point. This May we all know that the lumber price is around $1,600 per MBF. That's the record high price for lumber. So this is the price figure for the lumber price. And here, in addition, to take a closer look for the lumber price, I also included the weekly average price just for 2020 and also this year. So from the weekly average lumber price figure, you can see that, just lumber price just increased, continue to increase until the first half of this year. And then in the second half of this year, it decreased a little bit. So the most recent data we get for the lumber price is around $900 per MBF. So compared to the record high $1,600, it's already decreased, a bunch. So that's the lumber price trends. And the reason for me to show the lumber price trend here, just try to summarize some major reasons behind why during the pandemic these 2 years there is such a big increase in the lumber price. So in the following slides, I just summarized some major reasons behind the record high lumber price. So here, the first major reason I listed here is because of the high housing demand. And here I included the house starts data. And from this figure, we just focus on the pandemic years, 2020 and also this year. So the house starts, we can see that in the first quarter of 2020, the same thing, there was a substantial decrease in the house starts. And then from the second quarter, even the second half of 2020, the house starts just improved and all continued to increase. So we all know that for lumber, the big drivers for demanding of lumber is, home building, remodeling, as well as some manufacturing for different kinds of furniture, right? So those are the big drivers for the big demand of lumber. So based on the house starts data, we can say that if the house starts improved or continue to increase, obviously there will be a big demand for the lumber. So that's the first kind of important reason for why the lumber price is so high. So, and another behind the reason why there is a high demand for the housing during the pandemic. So we all know that in the first quarter of 2020, because of the COVID, because of the pandemic, there was a lockdown and a lot of people are required to work from home. So in that kind of situation, a lot of people might thinking, I need to buy a house. I need to at least have a room and home for working, right? So that's kind of the behind the reason why there is a higher demand for the housing, and a high demand for the housing basically caused a high demand for the lumber, and then caused the lumber price so high. So that's the first important reason. And then the second important reason obviously is from the supply side. So there is a lower or a relatively low lumber production ability. So the low lumber inventory also contribute to the high lumber price. And a lot of reasons cause the relatively low production for lumber. So the first reason because of the lockdown in 2020. During the lockdown, a lot of mills, they could not produce enough lumber. And then the second major reason is because of the labor shortage. Again, in the pandemic, we all know that there is a labor shortage in all kinds of fields. So the mills could not hire enough people to, operate the operations to produce the lumber. So that's another reason caused the low production ability for lumber. And then we still remember that at the very beginning of this year, in February, there was a very big snowstorm right in the south. So that big snowstorm actually also disrupted not only forests, but also disrupted a lot of mills operations. So that's another reason why the mills could not produce enough lumber. So the low supply also contributed to the record high lumber price. So that's the different reasons caused to the relatively low lumber inventory. And then the third reason I summarized here is because of the low interest rate. So especially during the pandemic years, basically this year and the previous year, we all know that to support the economy because of pandemic, the Federal Reserve actually decreased the interest rate, including the mortgage rate. So if there is a low mortgage rate, actually a lot of people might think, I invest my money to the real estate, to housing market, it makes more financial sense, right? So in that way, because of the low interest rate or the low mortgage rate, encouraged a lot of people entering to the housing market, and also entering the house market just caused a very big demand for the housing. And like what we mentioned a few minutes ago, a high demand for the housing obviously caused a high demand for the lumber, and then caused a high lumber price. So that's how the interest rate or the mortgage rate, affect the lumber price. And the fourth reason I summarized here is because of the stimulus payment that was provided by the government, especially again during the pandemic years to support the economy. I think a lot of us might receive several rounds of stimulus payment from the government. So for example, the CARES Act, the American Rescue Plan, those kind of stimulus payment actually also indirectly caused the high lumber price. Why? The first thing, because of the stimulus payment, actually it encouraged a lot of people to enter into the house market because they can use the stimulus payment to save money for the, for the down payment. And then from a different perspective, the stimulus payment can cause the other commodity price goes up. You probably already feel that a lot of some other commodities price actually becomes more expensive than the previous years, right? So in other words, because of those kind of payments, it kind of decreased our purchasing power for the money. And in that kind of situation, a lot of people again thinking that if I just invest my money to the real estate, to the tangible asset like housing, it make more financial sense. So in that kind of situation, again, it caused to a high demand of the housing, and then caused a high demand for the lumber. So that's why the lumber price is also so high. So that's the fourth kind of important factor. And the last factor I summarized here is because of the manufacturing costs. So here I just showed the PPI finger. And if you focus on again, 2020, you can see that there is a sharp increase for the PPI. So the PPI basically just reflect the manufacturing costs. A sharp increase in the PPI, it means the manufacturing costs actually also increased sharply. So from the production chain perspective, we all know that if the manufacturing cost increased, it will be transferred to the end product such as lumber, right? So that's also caused the lumber price so high. And here I would like to mention another reason is again because of the labor shortage. If there is a shortage for the labor, it will cause the labor costs also goes up, right? So that kind of costs again will be transferred to the end product such as the lumber. So basically here I just summarized some important factors that causing the record high lumber price so high. So those are the factors I summarized here. And again, if we say, what's the relationship or what's the connection between the lumber price versus the timber price? The timber price here, I mainly refers to the stumpage price. So, we, as what we just said before, we see the record high lumber price, $1,600 per MBF, but we didn't see the record high price for stumpage, right? If you sell timber, in the past 2 years, you probably still didn't see, still $25 per ton for the pie saw timber. So there is no record high, saw timber price. So here I just kind of showed the finger for the annual average price for both lumber and also the stumpage price. The stumpage here, I only used the pie saw timber as an example. So theoretically, we know that the lumber is made from, the saw timber or the stumpage. So stumpage is the raw material for making lumber. If there is a high price in lumber, theoretically, we think, the raw material, the price will also goes up. They need to kind of track each other closely, right? But we obviously see there is a disconnection between those two different kinds of price. So here I just also summarized some, reason for why the lumber price and also the stumpage price, they just disconnect with each other. So the first reason I just, say that the affecting factors are different. It means, the game player is different. So again, we know that for lumber, the bigger drivers for demanding of lumber is home building, the remodeling, as well as manufacturing of different kinds of furniture. That's in the market. So from the production chain perspective, we see that there are 3 different components. The upstream is the timber market, and then the middle stream is the lumber market, right? And the downstream in the market. Downstream in the market means the home building, those kind of stuff. And then lumber is made from stumpage. So basically in this production chain level, you can see that who are standing in the middle actually dominating the game. It means who are standing in the middle, for example, the mills, though they are the ones to make the decision when I want to buy the timber or how much timber I would like to buy. So for example, if a mill, they have a 4, log yards, they just lack the incentive to increase the price for the timber they pay to landowners, right? So the players who are dominating this game is different. So that's why there is a disconnect between the lumber price versus the stumpage price. And then the second major reason causing this disconnection is because of the strong supply of timber, especially in the south, part of US. We all know that, the strong supply of timber just, caused the, or contributed to the relatively low stumpage price. And this kind of situation already lasted for how many years? 30 or 40 years, right? So here, I do not need to explain more for the oversupply of timber. So that's the second major factor. And then the third major factor is because of the lag effect that existing in the timber market. If we compare to the lumber producer for a landowner, if they need to prepare for the stumpage, it takes them a much longer time period to prepare for the stumpage, because harvesting the stumpage, it depends on a lot of different factors, such as the weather, such as the timing, such as let's say whether could I find a logger to help me harvest my timber. So it takes a much longer time for the landowners to prepare this kind of timber. So that's the lag effect existing in the timber market. It also causes the disconnect between the lumber price versus the stumpage price. And then the fourth factor is because of the technology. For example, if there is some improvement in the technology, it will make the production more efficient, especially for the mills. For example, they can use some advanced technology to produce the same amount of lumber with less amount of timber. So that kind of situation will cause a lower demand for the timber, right? and then it will also contribute to the relatively low price for the timber. So that's, those are the 4 factors can contribute to the disconnection between the lumber price versus the stumpage price. So those are the factors I summarized here. And for the lumber price as well as the stumpage price, the last thing I would like to mention is the policy effects. So one typical example here is the tariff on the Canadian lumber imports. So this kind of policy was effective in December of 2017. And in the first quarter of 2018, we just see a big increase in the lumber price. I still remember that, during that time, I was still working at the Texas A&M Forest Service. And we just try to, write an essay, try to explain how this kind of policy affect the increased lumber price. And the second example here is the trade war with China. So we all know that, the previous President Trump, he just ordered some tariffs, on the Chinese imports, including the 10% of tariff on the furniture and some other related goods from China. And also, in response, the Chinese government also imposed some tariff on the US goods, including the 25% of tariff on the logs and the lumber. So this kind of policy, it will also affect the price of lumber and also the price for the stumpage. So from the Census Bureau, we say that before the trade war with China, generally exported the logs and the lumber to China was around $3 billion. But because of the trade war, that number decreased to $1.6 billion. So this is how the policy, affects the lumber or the stumpage price. So that's the last thing I would like to mention. So that's basically what I wanted to cover, in the first section. And now I would like to go to the second section, basically just have a very brief discussion for the trends for the near future. And then the first thing I would like to mention is, again, we see some decrease in the lumber price in the second half of this year. Now it's around $900 per MBF. And based on, the most recent data, we still will see some kind of fluctuation for the lumber price in the near future. Probably still around $800 to $900 per ton per MDF for the lumber price. And speaking of the stumpage price, considering the oversupply or the strong supply from the south part of US, even though we see a slight increase in the second half of this year, now it's around $25 to $29 per ton for the pine-saw timber. But considering the oversupply or strong supply, we do not think, we will see a very big increase for the stumpage price. So historically, the highest price for the stumpage is around $40 per ton, right? That's still before the Great Recession, before 2008. So we do not think we will see that kind of phenomenon for stumpage price in the near future. And again, for the labor shortage, because of the COVID and also because of the stimulus payment we still receiving, the labor shortage might continue at least for next year. So that's kind of the trend for the near future for those kind of stuff. And then the second thing I would like to mention here is about forest certification. Because nowadays, more and more mills, they are requiring the certified fiber. So having the forest products certified actually is becoming more and more important for accessing the market. So with that being said, forest certification obviously is also becoming more and more important for the market accessibility. So especially in Arkansas, we know that 58% of the forest land are under private ownership, and regarding forest certification, this topic, Dr. Pelkey and I, we actually did a research last year for private landowners' perspectives on forest certification. And based on the survey we did, we just realized that, there is still a big portion of private landowners. They generally have a low familiarity and also a low kind of level of knowledge about certification. So from that kind of information, it means, a lot of groundwork still needs to be done to increase the private landowners' knowledge about, the certification program. And also we find that, certification cost is the major barrier for private landowners, especially the small private landowners, to participate in a certification program. So with that being said, we just thinking, we probably need to develop some kind of possible policy instruments. For example, try to encourage the small private landowners to do some, group certification or joint certification. So basically, having more and more private landowners to have their forest land certified, still needs a lot of our efforts. So that's the certification. And then for the post-COVID forest market, so here I just included those different kind of topics. So the first one is wood pellets. We know that wood pellets is a major source for renewable energy production. So this kind of production will continue to grow. Considering that the increasing international demand in the biofuel. For example, data we collected here is from the global market size. They just predicted that, this kind of market will reach around $24 billion in 2025. So the growth in biofuels might continue to grow and might continue to increase. And then the second thing we would like to mention is that, with the popularity and also the acceptance for sustainable green energy worldwide, so there is a likely increased domestic market for wood biomass-based energy. And wood biomass, we all know that it's a potential raw material to produce the green energy, for example, in the forms of heat or in the forms of electricity. And the third thing is that, the demand for the engineered timber will likely increase with further investments and also further improvements of facilities, such as, the structural lime. They just announced that they will increase their investment in their facilities for the engineered timber. And again, we do not think we will see much change for the stumpage price in 2022, even the near future, considering the strong supply or the oversupply of timber resources. So here I also included a link. If you click on this link, you basically can go to a report that was written by both me and also Dr. Pelkey. We just posted this report on the Business Center website. So if you go to this report, you will see a lot of or much more detailed information for the price trends for the new kind of forest market, basically for all the information I covered today. So in that report, we have a very detailed description. So it's around 30 or 35 pages. So you can see that how detailed we just described in that kind of report. And also, we developed this Business Center website. If you would like to get more information about the fact sheet, about some kind of report we wrote regarding forest industry, regarding the price, regarding forest certification, for example, there are different topics. So if you go to this website, you can just just kind of search around by yourself, and you will see different kinds of information. So that's basically I prepared for today's presentation or talk. So, and I hope that you all, find some information are useful for you. And, if any questions now, I would like to open for the question session. So.
All right, does anyone have any questions for Dr. Tian before we start wrapping up?
Dr. Tian, that was a lot of information. In that we just sold both pine and hardwood.
Okay.
I guess I'm happy about the hardwood, but Russell, what do you think about the pine?
No.
How much were we getting for the pine, Russ?
25.
Around the average price.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's kind of a lot of information to digest. Again, I think, they already recorded this video. So if you like, you can just rewatch it or just let more people know if they are interested in this kind of topic. So hopefully, those kind of explanations just, at least kind of make sense to you, or you think, yeah, it's explainable or something like that. So.
Is this the kind of information that you're giving your students at UA Monticello?
Some of them, but not all of them. For example, for the price trends for different forest products, we include some of them in my natural resource economics class. But for example, for the disconnect between lumber and stumpage, for that part, we didn't really involve anything. That part basically more belong to our kind of research question. So it's kind of too much for the undergrads. So yeah, we just show them some real data and what's going on in this real world. But the behind the reasons why, it looks like that in the real world, that kind of belongs more like the research question. So yeah.
Okay, does anyone else have any other questions?
I have a comment. I hope that everyone was able to read the high profile section in the Arkansas Democrat Gazette last Sunday regarding the Dean of Architecture at the University of Arkansas, Peter McKeith. It was excellent about timber, all the innovations and all the things that are going on with Walmart, with the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville, with the use of lumber. It was really an outstanding article, very uplifting.
And it's interesting you bring that up. We're actually having that in our e-news. I just put it in there. That'll be going out next Monday morning. So if you get our e-news, keep an eye out for that. If you want to see that article, it'll be one of the ones that we have in there.
How do I sign up for your e-news? I don't get that.
You can send your email to me. And here I can type my email address.
You have my email. Jennifer has my email.
Okay,
so.
then we can add you in there, no problem. I can get with her and get that information, and we can add you into the system.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that because it was an outstanding article.
I have a question.
Sure.
Did the wildfires out in West, did they not affect the demand for the wood to help make the prices go up?
So the west part of US, so I only hear so could you please just repeat your question?
Yes, the wildfires that
the wildfire, sure.
Yes, that affect in the western states did they not affect the demand also?
I think wildfire, that's one of the natural disasters, and obviously like the snowstorm happened this year, this February, it obviously will affect, the supply of the timber. For example, wildfire, if they damage the forests, obviously it will, makes the supply of different kinds of forest products less. And if the supply becomes less, obviously the price is goes up, right?
Right.
And so much of that forest area that wildfires was national forest, not as much private lands as national forest, government owned.
Yeah. So that's how to say. I don't know. So the wildfire basically it's geographical, because the different geographical obviously have different kind of standard condition. Standard condition plays a major role for wildfire. I mean, for private landowners, if you manage it, it will just kind of decrease the risk of wildfire. But for national forests, yeah, it's hard to say why the wildfire just frequently happen in recent years.
So I have a question for Dr. Tian.
Yes.
Is there an additional resource for people such as us, small forest landowners, to pay attention to watch as we try to decide how to move forward? We, of course, get AFA online and in hard copy. I just wonder if, because you teach students, is there something else that you might be aware of?
So like what I just mentioned, we in Arkansas here, we have the Arkansas Forest Business Center, and that website is already kind of open to all the publics. So how about this? I will share that website, and in that website, we will post, some reports, some fact sheets, for Arkansas county level timber supply, county level, economic related kind of fact sheets. They are all on that website. If you go to that website, you basically can search different topic you are interested in, and then can go to very short article, probably just 1 or 2 pages. So that kind of information I think will be, useful for the landowners. So let me just close the PowerPoint now and just go to the Business Center website and show it to you. And then I will also put the website into the chat room, and you can just copy and open in your own search engine. How about that?
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Let's see.
And Dr. Tian, this is a relatively new resource, correct? This is something that you guys, yeah.
That's true. So this is the website, and I'm just, can you see my monitor for the website now?
Yes.
Here is Arkansas Center for Forest Business. And then this is the home page. And if you go to missions and values fact sheets, click this one, you will see, timber and lumber price. So that's kind of the most recent article we just wrote, just try to explain again the disconnection between the stumpage price versus the lumber price. And then, forests and forest industry by county. So Arkansas County, Ashley County, whatever county. For example, Clark County, if you click it, you will see Clark County Forests and Forest Industry 2021. We have those kind of fingers, numbers. So basically just 1-page article. So it's very straightforward to read. And so that's the fact sheet. And again, if you go to the home page here, you click on the reports, and then you will see, some other reports that either was written by me or written by Dr. Pelkey or someone else. You can say, you know, timber supply, you know, Camden, Arkansas, 2021. So this is a report. And then you can also see the timber outlook 2021 that I just mentioned in my presentation. So if you go to this one, timber outlook for Arkansas, you know, written by me and Dr. Pelkey. And again, you know, there is some kind of summary information in the very beginning. And then if you go to details, you can see, you know, different kinds of figures just show how the price change for different forest products. You know, basically you can find a lot of, you know, information from those kind of reports, from those kind of fact sheets. So you can just kind of, you know, play around the homepage for the Arkansas Center for Forest Business, this one. So, you know, if there is anything new, we will just post them instantly on this website.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, do we have any other questions?
This is really important. Thank you.
No problem.
Yes, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm very glad to be here. So knowing that the information is useful, really, you know, really glad to know that part. So.
Well, okay, if we don't have any other questions, I think we are good to go. Dr. Tian, we want to thank you for joining us today. And I know Jennifer has been working really hard with you to make this happen. So thank you for your information and your presentation.
Thank you.